back. Well, we're now right in the middle of the pandemic recovery in so many ways, particularly here in Australia. So how are small businesses recovering and managing right now? For more, let's bring in Bill Lang from Small Business Australia. Always great to have him in studio. Good to see you, Bill.
Great to see you, Adrian.
So what are you seeing at the moment? I mean, I'm obviously tracking small business. We all are. We're now in, what are we, January, February of this year. Things are ticking along. How are you feeling about things generally at the moment?
Look, I think generally speaking, there's a lot of positive vibes out there in a number of particular small business sectors. You know, things are moving in a positive direction, but we still very much have a tale of 2 or 3 cities. And what I mean by that is that in certain cities, the foot traffic is still down considerably compared to others. Certain geographic areas, business types that relied upon international tourists, as an example, or international students, still in an enormous amount of pain.
So the federal Labor says that the government is destroying taxes and apprenticeships. So what's going on here in terms of small businesses, and are they missing out through what the Labor Party are suggesting here?
Yeah, so there's been commentary recently from the federal Labor Party around the Liberal Party, the federal government for years defunding TAFEs and vocational education.
Sure.
So tracking things called apprenticeships, which are for blue collar people, and then sort of white collar traineeships, similar thing to apprenticeships. So, the federal government in the last budget, announced a great big program called a building apprenticeship commencement. Let's get another 100,000 in. Let's provide businesses with access to potentially up to $28,000 to get those people in. Now, it turns out of the 100,000 places that were made available, more than 74,000 have already gone in 3 months.
Wow.
And it would appear that a whole bunch of them have actually gone to organisations that already actually had apprentices and signed them up under this new program. So the government had to really quickly change the way they designed it, because it didn't actually add to employment. A bunch of people have been, big companies, access money that was supposed to be more for smaller companies to access. So there's 26,000 left apparently. Many small business owners don't know about it and can be tapping into it.
Right. Well, that's interesting, because policies are implemented by governments and it can look shiny and all the headlines, but then drilling down, you watch closely to see, does this trickle through? And you're suggesting that at the moment they need to perhaps do more.
Absolutely. And I think we've got to avoid this sort of trickle sort of concept. We don't need it trickling through. A number of these businesses need very direct broadband, straight direct help to be able to survive and to be able to bring people on. And there's a lot of money has been made available. It's quite complicated to sort your way through it. We need to simplify this stuff. We need to get the design right at the beginning. Take an extra week to get it right, rather than find that tens of thousands of these places have not actually added to employment, and big corporates have got access to corporate welfare payments.
Yeah, sure. We were talking about the foot traffic a moment ago. So Small Business Australia released its suburb activity research over the weekend, talking about Melbourne in terms of foot traffic. But what have you seen here with the report? And also, what can we do about it at this point? We need to get there right now.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And so when you sort of compare the major capital cities in particular, you see that basically Melbourne is still the most down, and on a relative basis, still 50% behind where Sydney is, right? Sydney's sort of the second in the ranking. So we've got to get people, of course, coming back to their offices during the week and coming back into the city areas. There's some great stuff that's happened in terms of making everything COVID safe, a lot of fun things to do in the city. So we need a few things to happen there. We really need, in the case of the state of Victoria, the Victorian government to take the lead and not talk about sort of minimum percentage of their employees that can come back, but they can take the lead. They work for the government. They work for the people of Victoria. How about we have like a minimum of 50% of them back in the offices? The biggest employer in the state of Victoria is the state government. Let's get them back in there. The other things that all of us can actually do is get into the city. If we're not actually working in the city, get there on the weekends. And even the events like, the Australian Open's on. There's been a lot of pain involved for the people of Victoria, a lot of angst about it. And, when I was watching it last night, plenty of empty seats. And according to Nick Kyrgios, there's even room in his box. So, for your viewers out there, got a girlfriend, got a boyfriend, grab them, go in and sit in Nick Kyrgios's box.
Very, very good. Yeah, I mean, I've been working at the Australian Open, as you know, and it's, I think the first day, the weather was a little bit average, hopefully with the good weather, but you're right. We probably need to be more conscious and say, look, maybe I wasn't thinking of going, but I need to go. I need to walk into the city. I need to go to the restaurant, the cafe, the whatever, get in there, start making more of a conscious effort in some ways, right?
Look, I think absolutely. And look, I was talking to my 79-year-old dad yesterday, and he goes, it's another outbreak in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And it's one positive case from 15,000 tests. So we need some calmness brought to all of this. And we need that leadership from the government. Now, when you call a press conference at 11 o'clock at night to make a whole bunch of changes, and then you sort of say at 11 o'clock at night, well, look, it's just one case, the action's a bit inconsistent with the way they're carrying on. And
Yeah.
the other big thing here, Adrian, we've got some small businesses, they're getting named and shamed.
Right.
We've got, QR tracking technology. We should be like New South Wales and have every Victorian business use the same one available for free from the government. So this stuff can happen much more quickly, and the people that have been there can be directly contacted rather than continuing this epidemic of fear about this virus.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I think it's one case. I was covering the Australian Open. People are going, is it going to go ahead? I said, it's one case. Like, come on, say that. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. All right, you get to the Australian Open at some point. I'll see you over there, okay?
Look out for my wife and I up in Nick Kyrgios's box and when he plays his next match.
She's playing on Wednesday, so I'll see you out there. Enjoy the rest of your day, Bill.
Thanks, Adrian.
Good stuff.